Ready? Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, thumma amma ba'd. To proceed, inshallah, today we have Bab al-Inbisat, which is the chapter on affability, and all the translations of Inbisat are here. And then we will have in the fiqh session, Bab ma yufsidu as-sawm, things that invalidate the fasting. So we may borrow some time from this session for the fiqh session, because things that invalidate the fasting is a very heavy chapter. So we try, inshallah, to borrow some time for it. Imam al-Harawi rahimahullah said, Bab al-Inbisat, chapter on affability. قال الله عز وجل حاكيا عن كلمة, and chapter on affability, chapter on being at ease, chapter on informality, comfort, joy, relief. We will come back to it, inshallah, and explain it a little bit more. But he started by mentioning the ayah, and certainly the relevance of the ayah is somewhat subtle here. He said, قال الله عز وجل حاكيا عن كليمه عليه السلام أتهلكنا بما فعل السفهاء منا إن هي إلا فتنتك تضل بها من تشاء وتهدي من تشاء. Allah Almighty said, quoting his Kalim, Musa alayhi salam, the one to whom Allah spoke or conversed with directly, would you destroy us for what the foolish among us have done? This is not but your trial, by which you send astray whom you will and guide whom you will. Why did Imam al-Harawi rahimahullah start with this ayah? It may have been Imam al-Harawi's understanding of this ayah that it has a little bit of maybe to him it sounded a little bit audacious, that Musa alayhi salam is actually asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are you doing this to us because of what the misguided or the dallun among us have done? In hiya illa fitnatuk, it's only your trial. You've caused it to us. You are the one who tried us by this. So he felt that this was Musa questioning Allah, questioning the act of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Qayyim says that it is not true. Musa was simply acknowledging that everything is from you. And the acknowledgement of Musa alayhi salam is an acknowledgement of Tawheed. That at the end of the day, yes, وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ يُنْسَبُ إِلَيْكَ, that evil is not attributed to you, O Allah, but everything comes from you. القدر خيره وشره, predestination, خيره وشره, the good and the evil. Everything comes from you, O Allah. So Musa was simply acknowledging the fact that everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was in a way saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we submit to your qadr, but we are clear of the misguided among us who transgressed. They're not us. We have not partaken in this transgression. So when you destroy us, like when the Prophet ﷺ said in Ghazwat Badr, Allahumma in tahlik hadhihi al-asaba la tu'bad fil ardi abada. Oh Allah, if this group of people is destroyed today, you will not be worshipped on the face of earth. So, because these were the only believers that were with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and certainly their destruction means the destruction of all the believers in Medina, because if this group was destroyed, then the kuffar would have overtaken all the believers in Medina. You could say that, it depends on how you look at it. Still, there is a little bit of questioning here. Still, Musa alayhi salam is saying to Allah, are you doing this to us? Because of what the misguided have done. if you consider this to be basically like I want to be polite also with Musa alayhi salam, but if you consider this to be beyond the limits of hishma, which is reservation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like to be reserved, extremely reserved with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your language, if you think that this was beyond the limits of hishma, then this may be related to imbisat, your comfort, your spontaneity, your informality, your affability with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to reach a certain level where you are comfortable talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Ibrahim alayhi salam, when the angels told him about their plan to destroy the people of Lut, and then فَلَمَّا ذَهَبَ عَنْ إِبْرَاهِيمَ الرَّبْعُ وَجَاءَتْهُ الْبُشْرَى يُجَادِلُنَا فِي قَوْمِ لُوطٍ إِنَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ لَحَلِيمٌ أَوَّاهٌ مُنِيبٌ. So when Ibrahim calmed down and he was not anymore frightened by the angels and their behavior, and the bushra came to him, the glad tidings came to him, the glad tidings of Ishaq alayhi salam, that he will be given Ishaq alayhi salam, came to him. He started to argue with us, that is Allah speaking, so he started to argue with Allah. يُجَادِلُنَا, he started to argue with us concerning the people of Lut. إِنَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ لَحَلِيمٌ أَوَّاهٌ مُنِيبٌ. Verily Ibrahim is Halim, forbearing, Awahun Munib, after returning, and Awah would mean that he was like someone who's in pain, basically compassionate towards humanity, like feels the pain of the people. So Allah described him with these noble characteristics. Why? Because he was arguing. Allah said arguing with us. He's basically questioning the angels about the decision that was taken to destroy the people of Lut, and obviously this decision was taken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I would consider this to be actually more imbisat than the statement of Musa alayhi salam, because Musa alayhi salam was in distress. He was confronted by the shaking of the mountain, and he was in distress. But Ibrahim was, he was not any more in distress. He received the glad tidings of having Ishaq. But the decision to destroy the people of Lut, he felt that he would be able to somewhat reverse it. يا إبراهيم أعرض عن هذا إنه قد جاء أمر ربك. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, "O Ibrahim, stay away from that. The decision of your Lord had already come through. So this is not something that you could reverse." But this would be, a form of imbisat, which is basically to not allow your reservation with Allah and your reverence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to prevent you from having an affectionate relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a friendly, affectionate relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to feel comfort in the presence of Allah with reverence. And because this is a very tricky station. In this station, the al-Arifun, the Gnostics, most of them would say that this station does not really belong to the commoners. And if you, be very careful when you tread that path, because this station, for most of the Gnostics, they consider this station to be a very advanced station that does not belong to the commoners. And the reason why they think this station does not belong to the commoners is that the commoners يُسِيئُونَ الْأَدَبِ يَتَخَطَّوْنَ حُدُودَ الْأَدَبِ. They transgress, they misbehave. When they are at ease, they can't really be polite enough, and they put down their guards. And then if they are not arifin and they don't really understand the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and feel the majesty of Allah, they may transgress. They even said that some of, the most distinguished, al-fikham, al-izam, the most distinguished of al-arifin, when they reached that station, they slipped. They erred, they made mistakes, blunders, and they were not able to control themselves. Therefore, approach this station with extreme caution. Approach this station with extreme caution. And if you are someone who is embasat with Allah, comfort, being at ease with Allah, will make him slip, will make him lose that reverence, lose that respect, and transgress his limits, then avoid the station. And just wait for Allah to cause you some bust, which is relief and some joy, but be very careful when that happens. We'll come back to it, inshallah. Anyway, so this is the relevance of the ayah to this particular station, the station of Inbisat, having comfort with Allah, being at ease, spontaneity, affability, etc. Then the Sheikh went on to define al-Inbisat, and he said al-Inbisat إرسال السجية والتحاشي من وحشة الحشمة وهو السير مع الجبلة. الانبساط إرسال السجية. Inbisat is to act naturally. إرسال السجية, إرسال to send, to release. Sajiyya is your instinct, your natural disposition. That is, so you release it. That means spontaneity. والتحاشي من وحشة الحشمة, and avoiding the lonesomeness of excessive reverence. Hishma is excessive reverence. And you cannot have excessive reverence for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the idea here is, it is not like more reverence. It is reverence that will dry out your relationship with Him. That is not intended, that is not wanted. You should have as much reverence for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as you can afford to have, absolutely. But at the same time, if this reverence is drying out your relationship with Him, then that reverence is not conducive to the best relationship or the best form of ubudiyyah, which is embedded in or which is founded on love, right? Ubudiyyah is founded on love, with dhul, with humility. But if the love goes out of the relationship because of the excessive reverence, then that is not the best form of ubudiyyah. Then all that is left of ubudiyyah is what? Dhul, humility. Is that a good form of ubudiyyah? To only have humility, dhul, without love? No, that is not. And that is basically the crux of the matter today. That you need to moisten your relationship with Allah. Do not allow the excessive reverence to dry out your relationship with Him. Then he said, وَهُوَ السَّيْرُ مَعَ الْجِبِلَّةِ, it is to follow one's disposition. سَيْرَ مَعَ الْجِبِلَّةِ. سَيْرَ is to walk. Sara, walked. Sayr, walking. مَعَ الْجِبِلَّةِ, with the jibilla. Jibilla is also the natural inclination. So to walk with your natural inclination. وَهُوَ عَلَى ثَلَاثِ دَرَجَاتٍ, and it is 3 levels. So let me just, in order for us to understand where all of the translations are coming from, affability, being at ease, informality, comfort, joy to some extent, relief. And if you're speaking with someone who speaks like an Arabic dialect, not necessarily proper or fusha, it is still it still means joy in proper Arabic, but it does not mean it does not primarily mean joy. Joy is an implication of inbisat. But where does it come from? This is what we want to figure out. But generally speaking, when you speak to someone who speaks Arabic, like sort of colloquial Arabic, and you tell him انبساط, you're مبسوط, he will understand this to mean, or she will understand this to mean, are you happy? That's it. Okay, so where does it come from? Of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Basit al-Qabid, right? Al-Basit al-Qabid. Basata means what? Basata yada. Basata his hand. This is basata his hand. So extended, expanded. You could say dilated. Basata, whatever, something that, a container to dilate it. So, but basata yadahu, he extended his hand. Qabada yadahu is this. Qabada yada. So basata yada, qabada yadahu, contracted, took back, could also mean withheld. Because why does it mean withheld? Because the person who withholds, he closes his hand. The person who gives, he opens his hand. So qabid and basit would sometimes be translated as giver and withholder. But this is not the primary meaning. The primary meaning is just this: basata, qabada. But when you say basata, extended his hand, you have a lot of implications here. You have a lot of implications. So basata is basically the past tense of the verb, which means extended. And from this, the active participle will be what? Basit. Basit will be the active participle of this, which is ism al-fa'il. The passive participle of this would be what? Mabsut, which is ism al-maf'ul. Passive participle. Mabsut. So this is extended, extender, extended, as an ism al-maf'ul. When we talk about inbisat, that's a different verb, but that is the root. Inbasata. Inbasata here will be munbasat. The active participle from inbasata would be munbasat. And that is attributing it to yourself. Inbasata means what? So inbasata is when you attribute the basta to yourself. Like you let your guards down, or you. So inbasata means that he extended himself. Not someone else. That he opened up? Oh, yeah, maybe. But this is attributing it to yourself. So munbasat would be the active participle from inbasata. So when we talk about extension, and we talk about qabd, which is contraction, which would be qabada, qabid, maqbood. When you say ana maqbood, you mean what? I have tightness in my chest, right? Ana maqbood, like I have tightness in my chest. So al-qabid, qabadak. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-qabid. So it translated literally here, it will be caused you discomfort or caused you tightness in the chest. No, not literally. But literally it would be he contracted you. Qabada to contract. So he contracted you, meaning that he constricted your chest, meaning that he caused tightness in your chest, which means that he caused you discomfort. So basata would would mean that he extended, could be extended provisions, abundance, could be an act of generosity, or he extended you. What is meant here in this particular context, in this particular station, is that he extended your chest. So you feel relief, you feel comfort, you feel ease inside. When you feel ease inside, then that is bast. When you feel tightness, then that is qabd. And the believer is between qabd and bast. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala causes him tightness, that is basically a trial from Allah, a test from a trial to see how he will behave in that particular condition, of, qabd, which is the tightness of the chest, the discomfort, anxiety, fear, all of that would apply here when you are maqbood. And in bast, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends you signals of His pleasure, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us worthy of it, then you feel that relief, that release, and it will be after qabd, because our condition in this life as human beings alternates between qabd and bast and qabd and bast. But Allah said, inna ma'al usri yusra, inna ma'al usri yusra, verily with every hardship there is ease, verily with every hardship there is ease. And He called al-usr, defined with the article al, which means that it is one usr that we're talking about, and yusr, He did not add al, so it means that it is two yusrs that were mentioned in this verse, meaning that yusr will be more than usr, that ease will be more than hardship, that you will encounter ease more than hardship. And if you are truly observant of the ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will find out that in your life, ease is a lot more than hardship. Regardless, I don't care what hardship you're going through. There is so much ease in our lives. And this is not to be insensitive or inconsiderate, but I want you to explore the ease in your life, because there is plenty of ease in your life. And if you really look at it fairly, from the perspective of someone who is radi and content with his Lord, you will find that the ease in your life outweighs the hardship by far. So you are between the qabd and the bast, and the qabd and the bast, and for every condition, there is an appropriate, response. And Allah expects of you in every condition to respond in a certain way. So He will talk here about al-bast. Now He will not talk about only al-inbisat with Allah, which is affability, friendliness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but He will start with the creation and then talk about with Allah how this translates when it has to do with the relationship between the abd, the servant, and Allah. And finally, He will talk about the last station, which is known, we all know the last station for Imam al-Harawi would be losing yourself, fana, self-annihilation, self-dissolution, to forget the self, for the ego to pass away, and that is just his natural progression. And we've talked about this, and we've talked about how subsisting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with Allah, by Allah, is what is intended, what is demanded by Allah, and this is basically what the prophets and their disciples have done. They subsisted. They did not lose consciousness of themselves and their surroundings, but they subsisted by Allah, with Allah, for Allah. Okay. So الدرجة الأولى الانبساط مع الخلق وهو أن, the first level is to be at ease with the creations, and that is by لا تعتزلهم ظنا على نفسك أو شحا على حظك, not isolating yourself from them out of concern for your time or your interests. Out of concern for your time or your interests. So he's saying that in order for you to be munbasat with the people, munbasat means what? At ease with the people. and also affable, meaning that reachable, personable, that the people can come and talk to you and joke with you, and like they did with the Prophet ﷺ, despite his high station of all human beings. You could imagine, if the Sahaba were just focused on the reverence of the Prophet ﷺ, and he expected the most reverence out of humanity and respect out of humanity, and you could imagine how this could have crippled the relationship with the Prophet ﷺ if they were only focused on the respect aspect of the relationship, right? They are sitting down with someone who's more beloved to God than Jibreel and Mikael. They're sitting down, they're talking, they're eating with someone who is greater in the sight of God than al-Arsh and al-Qalam and, the Jibreel and Mikael and Ibrahim and Musa. So you could imagine how this could have caused them, if they did not moisten their relationship with love, could have caused them to, could have crippled their relationship with him. He is the one who allowed them, to be spontaneous, normal, at ease with him. His affability, personability is what allowed all of this. So you need to have this inbisat with the people. And part of it is that you do not isolate yourself from them out of concern for your time or your interests. But he did not say here, keep in mind that, when they put together those mutun, they put them very carefully. The texts, abridged text, they put them very carefully so that every word has a meaning. So he told you that you will not isolate yourself from them out of concern for your time or interest, but would you isolate yourself from them out of concern for your relationship with Allah? Yes, he left room for this. Would you isolate yourself from them out of fear of their harm? He left room for this. That there are certain people that you may isolate yourself from them out of fear from your harm. Eventually, when you reach when you reach a higher level, you will tolerate the harm, but not all forms of harm. Certainly, we have this sort of legal maxim that comes out of a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, "La darara wa la dirar," there should be no harm or reciprocation of harm. But there is little harm that can be tolerated. There is little harm that should be tolerated. And the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith that is reported by Abdullah ibn Umar, that is reported from Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, al-mu'minu alladhi yukhalitu an-nas wa yasbiru ala adahum khayrun min alladhi la yukhalituhum wa la yasbiru ala adahum. So the believer who mixes with people and tolerates their harm, yasbir ala adahum, endures their harm, is better than the believer who does not mix with people and does not endure their harm. Now, if you feel that this harm is starting to affect your relationship with Allah, it is starting to impede you on your journey, then those are people that you should avoid until you are stronger and you go back to them and pull them to you. It depends on your strength. And if some person in the beginning of his practice or in the beginning of his journey, he's weighed down by people who are too slow or people who are causing him a lot of distraction, a lot of temptation, and a lot of people do this. And a lot of people, they may use this hadith without understanding what it means. It means that if you're capable of benefiting them, do not keep yourself from them and tolerate their harm. But this is not harming your relationship with Allah, because there is nothing more important than your relationship with Allah. But ultimately, if you become stronger in your belief, the futuwa in this case is that you go back to them and try to pull them out of the hole that they're in. In this case, you will have enough muscle to pull them out. They will not pull you in. You will be able to pull them out of that hole. Once you're able to do this, then that is best for you. This will, This will cost you time. You will not have your jam'iyyah with Allah, your togetherness with Allah. You will not have enough time for your dhikr, for your this. Yes, that is superior in the sight of Allah because Allah cares for them. Allah wants their salvation, their survival. And if you are His agent in saving them, then that is better than your jam'iyyah with Allah or your togetherness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that is serving Allah's interest, not your interest. You know, putting Allah's interest above your own interest. Okay, so that's the first one. The second, he said, وَتَسْتَرْسِلَ لَهُمْ فِي فَضْلِكَ وَتَسَعَهُمْ بِخُلُقِكَ وَتَسْتَرْسِلَ لَهُمْ فِي فَضْلِكَ وَتَسَعَهُمْ بِخُلُقِكَ. تَسْتَرْسِلَ لَهُمْ فِي فَضْلِكَ, to continually extend your favors to them. وَتَسَعَهُمْ بِخُلُقِكَ, and accommodate them with your good manners. This is understandable, right? You know, continue to extend your favors to them and to accommodate them. You know, so what is coming from you to them is your favors, and what is, you know, and even if they are rough or they're not proper, then you will accommodate their flaws and their impropriety with your good manners. The last one may be a little bit hard for some people to understand. He says, وَتَدَعَهُمْ يَطَؤُونَكَ, and to allow them to step on you, to allow them to step on you. Oftentimes, keep in mind, as we said many times before, no, Allah does not want us to embolden transgressors. And a community that emboldens the transgressors is a community that is doomed to destruction, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُقَدِّسُ كَيْفَ يُقَدِّسُ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً لَا يَأْخُذُونَ لِلضَّعِيفِ حَقَّهُ غَيْرَ مُتَعَتِهِ. How can Allah glorify a nation that does not procure or claim the rights of the poor for them? From the rich, from the influential, from the powerful. You know, an ummah that establishes justice. كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله. Stand up for the truth, stand up for Allah, and be witnesses to the truth or to justice. So that this has to be the ummah, and an ummah that the ummah should never embolden the transgressors, even on an individual level. You do not embolden transgressors, but keep in mind, most of the time, what you think is transgression is not transgression. It is your own perception. And keep in mind that oftentimes what you think is transgression has been caused by you. Within the same context, within the same context of this relationship between you and your spouse, neighbor, business partner, a parent, family member, classmate, co-worker, anything. Within this context or within the larger context, as we said last time, that you've caused it, even 20 years ago. So some degree of taghaful, looking the other way, or some degree of forbearance, some degree of forgiveness will be needed. And some foregoing of your rights will be needed, because if each and every one of us wants to claim 100% of the rights, you could never have a thriving, good relationship with anyone. Because if both of you want to claim 100% of your rights, whoever said that you will always be, that extremely intelligent, smart, and impartial to figure out where that line lies between your rights and their rights. So تَدَعُهُمْ يَطَؤُونَكَ, to allow them to step on you, it basically means all of these considerations. Consider that this transgression may not be in fact transgression, that this transgression may be in fact like a response to your earlier transgression, whether with the same person or someone else. Consider that the best remedy of this transgression may be overlooking it, and not basically hitting back or talking back, maybe just overlooking it. Consider all of those things. And then he says, وَالْعِلْمُ قَائِمٌ وَشُهُودُ الْمَعْنَى دَائِمٌ. all of this, you're doing all of this with the bashar, with humanity, with the khalq, with the creations, وَالْعِلْمُ قَائِمٌ, while upholding the knowledge, that's the knowledge of the scriptures. So you're not doing all of this outside of the context of the knowledge of the scriptures, because the knowledge of the scriptures will define, demarcate the lines between, right and wrong for you, haqq and batil, rights and obligations. All of this will be drawn by the knowledge of the scripture. And you have to be cognizant of the knowledge of the scriptures all the time to differentiate between al-haqq and al-batil, truth and falsehood, between huquq wa wajibat, rights and obligations, between what is yours and what is theirs, or what is on you and what is for you. You're always following the guidance of that knowledge. وَشُهُودُ الْمَعْنَى دَائِمٌ, and being observant of the meaning. Ma'na is the meaning, shuhud is observation, witnessing, da'im means always. So you're always observing the meaning, you're always observant of the meaning, and the meaning here is the meaning of all of this, the meaning of existence. Why am I doing all of this? For the sake of Allah. So sincerity, correctness and sincerity. The bottom line here is correctness, وَالْعِلْمُ قَائِمٌ, so your knowledge of the scriptures is maintained. You're always cognizant of the knowledge of the scriptures, and the meaning which refers to sincerity. So correctness and sincerity. And then he said, وَالدَّرَجَةُ الثَّانِيَةُ الْانْبِسَاطُ مَعَ الْحَقِّ وَهُوَ أَلَّا يَحْبِسَكَ خَوْفٌ وَلَا يَحْجُبَكَ رَجَاءٌ وَلَا يَحُولَ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ آدَمْ وَلَا حَوَّاء. He said, الدَّرَجَةُ الثَّانِيَةُ الْانْبِسَاطُ مَعَ الْحَقِّ. The second level is to be at ease with the Creator, and that is by لا يحبسك خوف, not letting fear confine you. Not letting fear confine you. You will have fear. And some of the Gnostics, they said, or the masters of the past, they said that al-qabd and al-bast are two stations that come for the, after khawf and raja. So after you move beyond khawf and raja, which is fear and hope, the stations of fear and hope, they consider the stations of fear and hope to be for the beginners. And then when you reach a higher level, when you have walked away from your ego, then it is qabd and bast. Then your relationship with Allah is personal, so it is qabd and bast. He sends you a signal of, iqab or itab, of His displeasure or blame, and you feel maqbood, because all you care now is about His thoughts of you. So He sends you a signal that He's unhappy with you or He's displeased with you, even the slightest signal, and then you're immediately maqbood. You feel this tightness in your chest, and then He sends you a signal of relief, that, or His pleasure, and then tanbasit, and then you become relieved. However, having said this, the description of the prophets in the Quran and the Sunnah and this, they always maintained khawf and raja. They always maintained khawf and raja. Maybe khawf and raja have different shades, different meanings, but they always maintained khawf and raja. And the Prophet ﷺ said to the man who told him, I don't understand, or I don't master your chanting and the chanting of Mu'az. And he asked him, what is it that you say in your dua? He said, I ask Allah Jannah, and I seek refuge in Him from an-nar. And the Prophet ﷺ said to him, حَوْلَهُمَا نُدَنْدِن. That's what our chanting is all about. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about al-anbiya, إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ وَيَدْعُونَنَا رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا. They used to hasten towards good deeds, وَيَدْعُونَنَا, and supplicate to us, رَغَبًا and rahaba, with fear and hope, or with hope and fear, with hope and fear. So we're not ever moving, and we're not, it's not even a question for us whether we will move beyond it or not, but even for those, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you the highest and loftiest of stations, but those who will ascend to those stations, they will not leave behind the stations of hope and fear. They will not leave behind the stations of hope and fear like the prophets did not leave, and those are the highest role models. highest reference point are the prophets and messengers. As they did not leave behind the stations of hope and fear, they will also not leave behind the stations of hope and fear. So not letting fear confine you does not mean that you will let go of fear. It will just mean that you will not let fear confine your relationship with Allah, constrict your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which should be vast, which should be beautiful, which should be conducive to affection and love and so on. But you always be careful, as Ibn Ata rahimahullah said, that إن العارفين أخوف منهم إذا بسطوا إن العارفين إذا بسطوا كانوا أخوف منهم إذا قبضوا ولا يراعي الأدب إلا في البسط إلا قليل أو ولا يراعي حدود الأدب في البسط إلا قليل. He said that al-Arifun, one of his aphorisms, he said that al-Arifun, the Gnostics, are more fearful when they are qubidu, which means when they are contracted, when they are caused this unease. They are more fearful when they are busitu, when they are at ease, in a station of bust. They are more fearful than they are when they are in a station of qabd, unease. Why? Because they fear that they may transgress the limits. They fear that with bust that now we may transgress. So they are even more fearful then, more careful, more cautious in that station than they would be in the station of qabd, which is conducive to reservation inherently. And then he said, وَلَا يَحْجُبَكَ رَجَاء, not letting hope bar you, not letting hope bar you. How could hope bar you from imbisat with Allah or being at ease with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Hope in the immediate reward can bar you from seeking His pleasure for His pleasure. Hope in the immediate reward can make you not seek His pleasure for His pleasure, but for the immediate reward. Can make you disingenuously submissive. You want something, so the hope in this thing, you want, you want Allah to respond to your dua, to your invocation, to your supplication. There is something that you're really eager about. So you show Allah a lot of submissiveness, you show Allah a lot of humility, a lot of everything, obedience, this and that. Why is all of this? Not for the sake of Allah at all. It is for the sake of that thing, whether it is whatever, that you want, that you really want. So your focus here is on this person or on this career or on this or that you really want. But it is not. So in this case, your hope in the immediate reward will bar you from seeking Allah's pleasure and seeking Allah's love. Then he said finally, which does not mean that you will not do this, which does not mean that you will not invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you have to always keep in your mind that whether or not I get this was a good opportunity for me to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if I don't get it, I invoked Him. I spent the night praying for Him. You don't say to yourself, I prayed, the whole week and nothing materialized. This concept, even if it is a thought, even if it is an inner thought, if you come back and say, well, it didn't happen, you wanted a certain major in college or something and you did not get into it, or a certain admission into a certain college or school and you did not get into it, and you say to yourself, I've been praying for 1 week or 2 weeks or a month and it did not materialize. You should be thankful that you were given the strength and to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to get closer to Allah. It materialized. You prayed for 1 whole month. This in and of itself is a great accomplishment. If it got you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is a great accomplishment. And then finally he said, وَلَا يَحُولَ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ آدَمْ وَلَا حَوَّاء, not letting Adam or Eve stand between you and him. What does that mean? And keep in mind, this is an abbreviated, abridged text, and many people will interpret this to mean different things, and that is fine, as long as we're bound by, the scheme of the Shara, then that is fine. We could interpret this whichever way we want, certainly within the context of the station that we're talking about. So he says, وَلَا يَحُولْ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ آدَمْ وَلَا حَوَّاء, not letting Adam or Eve stand between you and him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How could they do this? Adam and Eve could be just a reference to any man or woman. Do not allow any man or woman to stand between you and him. Adam and Eve could be a reference to your parents, your mother and your father. So do not see them as a medium between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, they were the means of your creation, but He is your creator. And Adam and Eve could be a reference to what? To Adam and Eve. To Adam and Eve. And here, what you're trying to do is, we all know that we came from Adam and Eve, right? We are the children of Adam and Eve. So we came from Adam and Eve. But He wants you to enjoy the feeling of this bilateral relationship, bilateral and direct relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without Adam and Eve in the middle. Can you imagine? Adam was created by Allah's hand. And then Allah spoke with Adam. Can you imagine the joy in this, the glory in this, the majesty in this, and the connection that was between Adam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being that he was created by Him. He wants you to experience this. So remove Adam from the middle. Adam is not a medium between you and Allah anymore. So behold the creation, because you were in the the loins of your father Adam when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him. So try to witness or behold that moment when Allah created you, because you were in the loins of Adam when He created Adam. So think of yourself as His immediate creation, because you are His immediate creation. At the end of the day, He created you and He created Adam. But don't make Adam come as a medium between you and Him, and behold His immediate creation of you, so that you could have this direct relationship with Him, and remove all of humanity, including your two parents, whether your immediate parents or your original parents, Adam and Eve. Remove all of humanity from the picture, and now it is just you and Him, Azza wa Jal, exalted is He. Then the third level, Sheikh will talk about the level of self-dissolution, self-annihilation, the passing away of the ego, losing your ego, forgetting about yourself, and we will just read it, and we did talk about this before so many times. He said, الدرجة الثالثة الانطواء عن الانبساط وهو رحب الهمة لانطواء انبساط العبد في بسط الحق جل جلاله. The third level is to refrain from انبساط enthusiastically, for the انبساط, which is affability of the servant, now fades into the bust, the extension of joy and abundance of the true one, glorified is His majesty. So you're not seeing any action because your ego passed away. You're not basically seeing any action of yourself. You're only seeing the bast and the qabd, not the inbisat and inqibad. You're only seeing the bast and the qabd, Allah's extension and contraction, expansion and contraction. You're not seeing your own inbisat and inqibad, but you're seeing His bast and qabd, because this is that level, and we've talked about what this level means. And Ibn Ata'illah also has something to say about this. It's beautiful. He said, قبضك, or he said, بسطك حتى لا يبقيك مع القبض وقبضك حتى لا يتركك مع البسط وأخرجك منهما حتى لا يتركك لشيء دونه. So he caused you this, he can literally, basataka, he expanded you, caused you ease, you know, حتى لا يبقيك مع القبض, so that you don't stay in your unease, so that he does not leave you in unease. وقبضك, and he caused you, he contracted you, which means he caused you, you know, this discomfort, tightness, so that he does not leave you in your imbasat, in your ease, in your comfort, as a form of treatment, as a form of, you know, disciplining, tarbiyah, Allah's tarbiyah of you. So, because if he leaves you with imbasat all the time, you may transgress. Most people do. And then he said, وَأَخْرَجَكَ مِنْهُمَا حَتَّى لَا يَتْرُكَكَ لِشَيْءٍ دُونَهُ. And then he took you away from both state of qabd and bast, ease and unease, so that he does not leave you for anything except him. So he does not leave you to belong to anything, to belong to any station, to have any experience except him. Is that clear? So now it doesn't really matter. Qabd, bast doesn't really matter. You are with him, and qabd and bast are irrelevant, because this self-dissolution, which we said is, you know, what is meant and what is the self-subsistence with Allah, by Allah, for Allah, and this was the high station and the station of the prophets and messengers, and which does not mean at all that those masters of the past were lying to us and they did not experience this. They experienced it. Some of them considered it to be a bridge to self-subsistence, that you need to crush the ego first to subsist by Allah, with Allah, for Allah. You need to crush the ego first completely. But this crushing of the ego completely, as we said before, you will not completely destroy it until it vanishes, because eventually you want it to subsist. But you will put it on a severe diet, a strict diet. You are not going to starve it to death, your ego, but you will put it on a strict diet, so that eventually it does not cripple you in your subsistence or baqa with Allah, for Allah, and by Allah. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. And we will have 7 minutes